Hello friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Mark, and today I wanted to bring you a review of these Staedtler or Staedtler. I can never pronounce this name correctly. It's either Staedtler or Staedtler. People say it differently all the time, but I wanted to bring you this review of their Triplus Fineliner markers. These are colored markers, and the color names or anything like that. But it does have a really neat case with this little shelf hanger on it, which I think right now I'm going to just try and pop this thing off because this is really annoying. So that comes right off. I don't hang things like this. This is for the retail, you know. Yeah, I bought these because they were on sale and I had a coupon for, you know, a local retail shop, and I figured, you know, I might as well try something new. And I haven't had these before, and I really was looking for, you know, some kind of a marker. They were available, and I jumped at the chance. This is the 20 pack. These do come in larger sets. I know there's a 36 set, or you can even buy a smaller set, a 10 pack, I believe, that you can buy as well. And you know, they retail typically for about anywhere from $15 to $18. This ended up costing me, with the coupons and everything, cost me about, I think, like 10 bucks. So you can find some good deals on these. You can get them on Amazon or whatever. This 20 pack for me was a good deal because, you know, it has a good range of colors. You can see there's the full range right there. I probably won't use them a lot, mostly for outlining and things like that. So they should serve a purpose for me. I don't think they'll be like any kind of a go-to product that I'm needing. So this was more of a whim purchase, an indulgence purchase, luxury purchase. The use for this kind of a marker for some people is priority. You know, there's a lot of people that use these, you know, all the time. I'm going to pull out these two greens, and I'm going to pull out two blues here. We're going to start with these here and just sort of take a look at what we're looking at here. You know, they're very lightweight. They're sleek looking. They have sort of a rounded triangular design, and you can see the printing there. Again, there's no real information. It doesn't even say what color it is, so you have to kind of guess by the cap end. And when you open them up, looking at the tips are dark, so you can't really even see what colors you got. But the design is pretty sleek, and I like the design. It's a decent marker so far. Cap goes right on the end. I do like the fact that there's a clip on the tip here. One, because it keeps it from rolling around, and the actual design of the pen, you know, triangular design, also is great for keeping it from rolling around. Also, if you need to clip this to anything, this is a pretty sturdy clip there. So they've designed these pretty well. The bottom end, you know, has this little thing, and that doesn't even move, so that's good. I don't believe these are refillable. I don't know why you would want to refill something like this. Some markers, like the Copic markers, you can get refills for. So I'm going to pull out this piece of, this is some Arches hot press watercolor paper that it's an extra piece that I had kicking around. Just going to do a basic shape here. If you remember the old flare markers from, you know, the 70s and 80s, that's a lot what it feels like. It's got some nice color to it, and you can see that it's a sturdy tip. It's not soft, so it's going to give you a nice strong line. If you put pressure down, you're going to get a thicker line, obviously, but not too much thicker, so it's consistent with a line weight on it. I could see using this for maybe a sketch, or, you know, filling in some details for another kind of illustration or something. So that's the light blue. I don't know, it's kind of tough to judge what colors these are. Yeah, so I mean, you get some good variations on colors here, and it's pretty nice. So these are very smooth, very nice, even on this rough textured paper. It's not cold pressed, so it doesn't have a lot of tooth, the paper, and it feels good on this kind of a rough surface. If I had my Stillman and Burns sketchbook here, I'd use that because that's very, very smooth. You know, I'm sure this would be very nice on a smooth piece of paper, and maybe I'll try to find that afterwards. But so now I'm going to use this water brush here because I want to test it out and see how it, you know, applies against water. And if you're familiar with a water brush, you know, it's a chamber filled with water that goes directly to the bristles. It's just a synthetic brush here. This is the Pentel water brush, which I adore these things. I love them. They're in all my travel kits, so these are not water resistant. So that can be problematic, or it can be a good thing because you can actually play with that color that you're pulling off and use it to your advantage, which I really like that idea. You know, I could see a lot of potential outside the you know, the realm of just using it as a line marker. Let's pull out this red one here. This is just red. There's no color names or anything. So, you know, if I'm going to come in here and do a quick sketch, let's just say I do a little box here to the sides. Give it some shadowing here. So, you know, you got just this little sketch here. And so now if I go into this with a water brush, which is probably going to have some color on it. Let me just try to get that color off there. That's what I love about water brushes. You just have to wipe them off and the color kind of just dissipates a little bit. So I'm going to stay within the box and not go outside it and just pull the color in. So this is actually, this to me is really worth what these markers can do. You know, initially I was thinking just using them for line work. If I can do this, this is actually kind of fun. And you know, once this dries, you can actually apply more color, which is kind of neat too. This is getting a rich wash over this, which is nice. I like that. That's to me, that's a great use. And you can even soften the edges here of the shadow. It kind of reminds me of a watercolor marker, but it's not watercolor, it's ink. That's kind of nice. I actually really like that. So if I just let that dry for a minute, you know, I could probably go over that with a different marker. There's not a lot of, you know, in this pack there's not a lot of variations. Like there's a red, but there's no dark red. If you wanted to go in with something else, you'd probably have to use a gray or, you know, some other color. You know, it's not too bad. I kind of like what this range offers. But if I do go in with this one, this is next to the red, so it looks more like a deep pink color, like a deep fuchsia. Give this a whirl over on this side. Yeah, that's more of a magenta color, but you know, you could use it as a darker red. So if I do that, this is not all the way dry, but it's pretty dry. So I could just go right on top. I'm not going to go too heavy on the siding and all that stuff here, but I'm going to go heavy right down here just so I can pull this out into the shadow. And you will see if my suspicions are correct. My suspicions are correct. I'm going to be able to pull this color right out, and it'll give me a nice deep shadow. Drag this down. So the question is the ability to pull this color out consistent between the different markers? So if I come over here to this, you know, and pull the ink across the page consistent between the markers, I would have to do a full test of all the markers to see, but I can already tell that they're pretty consistent. So if I pull off, I get this sort of brown color here. You know, if I was going to do a tree or something, you know, here you got this little tree action going here, and how is that going to react? You know, if I decide now, I could do the whole tree in this marker and have a background to it, but how is it going to react when I apply the water brush? But you know, I'm just trying to fill this in right now. My thinking is that it's going to add a nice little wash in the background. What I'm just trying to do is see if I can pull a wash into this tree area. Doesn't matter really what color it is, because once it dries, that's what I'm really going to be looking for. So I'm liking this so far. These markers are actually kind of fun. Was not expecting it to have this effect. You know, you buy a marker because you think it's going to be for line work, but as you can see, I can go over these when they're dry, and you get some really nice effects in there. This wash around here. Now, I can't give any information about the light fastness because I'm guessing because it's ink, if you leave this in the sun, that's going to fade. So this is great for sketchbooking and journaling, or just overall doodling and having some fun, or if you're into sketchbook art or scanning your art, this would be great. But I would not recommend hanging this, you know, from your wall. This is pretty wet still, so I'm going to let that dry for a second. There's enough colors in here to make you happy in this 20 pack, whereas I think the 36 might have, you know, just a few more variations of colors. If I had seen the 36 set at the store, I would have bought that instead. So looking at this tree again, you know, just as far as line work goes, you know, there's a couple of ways to do a tree. You can do the vertical lines, kind of tap into it this way. As far as a tutorial on lines and trees, there's a million different ways to do trees. So whatever makes you happy, go for it. I could do a whole video on just how to do tree bark. One of my favorite ways is to do this sort of wraparound kind of, you know, bark look. So you can see that you know, my little tree here is coming together nicely with that wash behind it, which I really like. And again, I could have done the same thing with a watercolor pencil, with a watercolor marker. I think Winsor Newton has some good watercolor markers. You know, for the price of these and for what I'm getting from it, I think it's a pretty good deal. You know, I could just fill in some darker areas here. You know, we all work differently, so however you approach this is going to be obviously very different from how I do it. You know, it's a good way to try out these markers. And you can even do the outlines again, kind of solidify that tree shape and actually put some textures on there. But if I come back into it now, you know, here's where it gets interesting. You can really pull out some nice dark areas in here and get your lighting a little stronger. So this is pretty fun. I like this. I'm enjoying this. You can even pull that out and put some shadow around the base of this tree if you need to. So, you know, this is not by any means high-end fine art here, but this is you know, just for playing around and for the purposes of a review, this is kind of neat. So like I said, you can do all kinds of things with the lighting and so forth. Now what I want to do is I want to take an older illustration that I kind of gave up on. This is some trees I had drawn, you know, for a project I was working on, but it didn't go the way I wanted. So, you know, the painting that I was doing was just starting to get away from me, and I wasn't really focused on it. So that does happen. And, you know, I kind of threw it to the side and said, you know what, I'm done with it. I'm not going to work on it anymore. Because, you know, there comes a point when you have to know when to quit. You can see here, this tree here's a lot darker green than these ones. So there's a lot of inconsistencies going on. You might look at this and say it's fine. I look at it and I see a lot of flaws. So if I, you know, kind of come up close to it, you know, you might be able to see better the problems, you know, that I was having. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take these little markers here and I'm going to try them. Now, it's hard to judge how dark this green is because looking at the cap, it's pretty close to these greens, but how is it going to fare when I actually put it on, you know, the paper? So let's give this a little test here. That's a really bright, like a grass green color. This almost looks like a viridian green, a green that I don't really care for. I don't care for viridian very much. I almost never use it, but yeah. It's got that viridian color thing going. And then I have this olive green one, which I do like olive green a lot. Using this water brush, I'm going to pull these down just so we can see, you know, what that color really looks like. And it's stretched out a little bit. Close in on this for you so you can see. So you can kind of see that there's some good coloring there. You know, I like the idea of this grass green, but I don't think it's going to be dark enough for my needs. So, you know, what I can do is just outline this thing and maybe breathe some new life into this illustration. And this is a case where I would use it for the line, not for that water brush effect. Although it definitely could be. I mean, that's something that I could add a whole new texture to on top of this painting. And that's where I would use these markers more, is on top of a painting. So if I did a whole watercolor painting and I needed some dark outlines, having this, I have, you know, my traditional dip pens with colored ink. These would be much more accessible and faster to use. So you can see that there's, you know, a nice definition of this. It actually is a little darker than I thought it was going to be. The swatch up here is bright, but when I apply it to this, it's actually pretty nice. So if I go in with this viridian colored one, I'm guessing it's going to be pretty dark. So you can see right there, it's pretty dark. And you know, a tree like this is more of a, you know, it's not cartoony, but it's more fantasy style. It's a children's story style. So it's not caught up in like the leaf work and all that. It's just more about the big overall shape, just this sort of line effect here. And this thing holds up pretty well. Now again, it is a single weight pen. You can put some pressure on here and get some darker lines out of it, but on this kind of a textured paper, it's going to rub this nib right down to nothing in no time. But you can see that I'm getting some consistent lines, which is nice. I've had cheap markers that, you know, you use them just a couple of times and they go kind of bananas on you and they fall apart. So now for these background trees, I could use this olive color. It's going to be dark, so it's going to really pop out against these lighter greens. If I just come in here nice and light, you can see that it gives some definition to this tree in the background here. So nothing too fancy, but not bad at all. And you know, if I do this one here with this sap greeny one, now what I want to do here is I want to see the effect with the water brush and see how this looks over. Is it going to maintain those lines, or am I going to be able to pull these out? I think that's pretty neat. So you can see it adds another sort of dimension to this. So I can really just work that ink into the watercolor that's underneath it. And it's consistent, it's smooth, and it's pretty nice. I like that. So, I mean, I could do the same thing over here. It's not going to be as smooth. These lines are pretty defined, but you can see the lines will stay behind, and I can pull this ink right down, which gives it a really nice effect. Now, if I did this with like a little red in there, you know, get some nice brown colors going, that could add some real dimension to it. And even I'm thinking some yellow at the top. You know, I'm going to try it real quick, and then I'll end this this review. I don't want to make it too long. You know, just adding some yellow lines in here. They're not very distinct because I'm putting light on top of a dark, but if I pull this down, the effect will be more of like a kind of a highlight, or just a special effect, like a glow overall, which is pretty nice. I like that. So I'm pretty happy right here. This is you know, worth my purchase, and I actually will probably have more of a use for these than I thought I was going to. You can see the effect here, and I'll use I'll use the hang tag as a pointer. You can see here the that blending is really kind of neat, and the dark outline really makes this whole tree pop out. The yellow here, it's a nice highlight. I don't know if I would do that specifically, but you know, it's a nice effect to try and see if you like it. What I really like is how smooth this sap green color, this I don't know if it's grass green or sap green, but it's really nice. The olive back there, it tends to pop it out a little bit more than these ones up front, so I would probably not use it for that background. Yeah, so I'm very satisfied with these. It was for 10 bucks. You know, I get a 20-piece set and hours of enjoyment. So I hope this was a worthwhile review for you. These are the Staedtler Triplus Fineliner markers, and you know, definitely well worth checking out. And if you have a coupon at one of the retail stores like Michael's or Joann or AC Moore or something like that, or even I'm sure Dick Blick would have these as well, you can get a good discount on these. You can also find them online, so if you're interested, check them out and see if they work for you. I used to use markers a lot more. Nowadays I don't use them as much. I prefer using either dip pens or just using straight watercolor with a really fine brush, but these are definitely going to have a place in my arsenal of art supplies. So I'll put them alongside my Copic markers, and hopefully I'll get some good use out of them. And again, well worth the purchase. Thank you so much for checking this review out, and I hope I will bring you a new review soon of something else that's fun to play with. So have a great day, and thank you for watching. God bless. You still watching? Oh, hi. Was supposed to end the video, but my obsessive compulsive disorder makes me want to put things away neatly before I start anything else. And you can see these go away pretty cleanly and neatly. Makes for a nice tidy workspace. It's an interesting little clip here. You have to kind of push down a little bit. I'm not sure what it's actually clicking onto. These tabs here, I don't know if you can see these. There's plastic tabs here. These actually click into some little grooves that are in there. So you gotta kind of, instead of just closing it once, you have to kind of push the whole thing down. And they store neatly. Also, should note that this has a stand, which I don't trust it. You can probably get it to stand up a little bit, I guess. I don't know. There they go. Anyway, have a great day. Take care.